Hi, and thank you for joining me for another short talk. And friends, today I dedicate this talk to all my Gentile friends who have been convinced to take upon themselves the label of B'nai Noach instead of just fully converting to Judaism. And those of you who've heard my lectures in the past know that for the last 18 years I've been and continue to be the Noahide movement's biggest opponent and converting to Judaism's biggest proponent, at least digitally. Mainly because of the huge scam, a waste of time, and honestly waste of an ethical person's abilities that the Noahide movement is or has become. So today, I want to give you an update on the current day Noahide movement by saying that currently, the Noahide movement creates more Karaites than converts and more atheists than Noahides. Now, many make the argument that the Noahide movement has become an additional step before converting. Now, I'm not going to deny that this is what it seems to be nowadays, but this was never the intention of the Mishnaic system that put it into place. Mainly because for the last 3,000 years, people had no problem going from just being Gentiles to becoming Jewish, right? It's really not a big deal. But suddenly, modern-day rabbis felt the urge to create an additional step in contrary to what Chazal established. In other words, in contrary to what the law actually dictates. According to halakha, when someone comes to convert, you don't offer him the Noahide laws as an alternative to conversion. No, it's the opposite. It tells you that you encourage them on. It says this clearly in Assyria chapter 14 and Yeridea 268 and Yevamos 47. And it tells you to go further because in some way it knew that people would want to join a religion because of what celestial benefits it offers. It says that we tell them that only Israel has a share in the world to come, not what's taught nowadays. Because when someone comes to convert, they'll tell you, why would you want to become Jewish when you could just remain a Gentile? Now, Jewish law doesn't tell you to do this. The rabbis nowadays tell them, you can also have a share in the world to come by being a righteous Gentile. Now, I'm not denying that these opinions are floating around out there in midrashic literature, but this is not what the halakha instructs us to tell them. Do we think we know more than Chazal? And this is what I was told that is happening in places like Texas, that they won't even start you on a conversion program unless you align yourself with a Noahide organization for at least 1 year after starting your years in a conversion program. Funny, why doesn't the halakha state this anywhere? I guess they're creating their own Judaism. So, why more Karaites than converts? Look, it's no secret that the Noahide / counter-missionary rabbis, when teaching Gentiles, whether it's attacking the New Testament or encouraging the Noahide laws, align themselves with Karaites to at least get their counter-missionary message across. The reason they do this is because in their eyes, they share a common enemy and audience, Christianity and Christians or former Christians. The problem is that the Noahide rabbis and teachers, after they destroy someone's Christian faith, if they offer them anything, they offer that person Noahidism. Now, the Karaites, who mainly piggyback off the counter-missionary movement and Noahide teachers for posterity, when they get their hands on a former Christian, they offer him Karaite Judaism, which at least to a former Christian sounds a lot more intriguing and grounded than the Noahide movement. And being that these Noahides are seeing their teachers, their rabbis, working alongside these neo-Karaites, they begin to think that this is kosher as well. Now, this marriage between the Karaite movement and the counter-missionary movement is a bit odd, being that at least according to halakha, being a Karaite is a lot more problematic than being a Messianic, at least to what Chazal had to say about it. In other words, Chazal really don't say much about the beliefs that Messianics have, but have a lot to say about those who deny Torah Shebaal Peh, the oral law. But regarding the Noahide movement making more Karaites than converts, I would say that about 99% of all known Karaites in the U.S. today, or this neo-Karaite movement, came to this form of Judaism through the counter-missionary Noahide movements. Because remember, traditionally, the Karaite movement did not accept converts, and it wasn't until teachers like Nehemiah Gordon, working alongside counter-missionary rabbis, did they give birth to this new branch of Karaite Judaism we see all over the internet today. Now, all this seemed almost inevitable, mainly because one side, the counter-missionary movement, never really cared to preach what they practiced, i.e. Torah Judaism. In other words, they didn't encourage conversion, while the Karaite movement took advantage of this opportunity. Now, you could pull this for yourself. Ask anyone you know who has come through the Noahide/Ger/counter-missionary movement how they feel about Karaite Judaism. And I'm sure that 9 out of 10 will tell you what's wrong with Karaite Judaism, or that they consider themselves Karaites. Now, the main reason the counter-missionary movement as it exists today is not the same one as practiced, let's say, by rabbis like Gerald Siegel, is because the counter-missionary movement, at least historically, was created almost solely to war against Jews for Jesus. But as much as they tried to win Messianic Jews over, they ended up winning more Gentiles than Jews. So they were stuck on the issue. What do we do with all these Gentiles dropping Christianity? We for sure can't offer them Judaism, peddling the old wives' tale that Jews don't proselytize, which if you've seen any of my lectures in the past, already know is a myth and not halakhically true. So they embraced a small movement begun by the last Lubavitcher Rebbe, i.e. Chabad, in the 60s, encouraging Gentiles to keep 7 laws. So this gave birth to the Noahide movement, and when rabbis saw that there was potentially so much money running through the veins of this movement, they gave birth to many Noahide rabbis we see peddling their, in many cases, rabbinically laughable media to the Gentile world. Now, this movement is imploding from within. Anyone who follows Noahide politics is aware on how Noahide teachers are attacking each other, all trying to win more Gentiles over to their side. Mainly because, unlike religious Jews, former Christians love to give money. Actually, I would say that this is also an incentive to keep them outside of Jewish life. Because, as we know, when someone converts, or if someone lives a Torah Jewish lifestyle, there's tuition for their kids and kosher food, living in a Jewish neighborhood, they don't have the extra money to support online teachers. And further, among all these rabbis hopping on board, you have many Noahides who have also taken leadership positions and in many cases have broken away from traditional Noahidism to establish their own forms of Noahidism based mainly on Kabbalah and anything they could find online that can justify them remaining Gentiles. And even in some cases, teaching that the Noahide is greater than a Jew for a whole host of reasons, and even going as far as discouraging people to even think of becoming Jewish, teaching that becoming Jewish is religiously never an option, and their only hope is to embrace their Gentilism. This is how far they've gone, and this is why the Noahide movement, or Noahide/counter-missionary movement, creates more atheists than Noahides, because after they destroy someone's faith, whether it was in Jesus or Muhammad, what they give them in return is less organized, less purposeful, less actively ethical than what they destroyed. Getting the person to think that religion is all nonsensical, and in many cases ultimately getting them to drop the belief in God altogether. Friends, if you destroy someone's faith, it is your responsibility to give them a viable alternative to the faith you just destroyed. In other words, the way you destroy bad religion is with good religion, not with no religion or some lesser form of religion. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not against the Noahide laws. This appears in rabbinic literature. It's a real thing. What I'm against is the Noahide movement. In other words, what are the Noahide laws? Well, the Noahide laws are a set of 7 laws developed by the Great Court, by the Sanhedrin, to adjudicate Gentiles living in Jewish lands. And that's it. And that's all. However, like everything in the rabbinic world, the allegorical stepped in and built all these legends surrounding the Noahide laws, which makes up the basis for what's taught in Noahidism today. That 6 laws were given to Adam and the 7th law given to Noah, and that the 7 laws existed as a system before, not just the Sanhedrin, but even the Torah was given, and that everyone that appears, Torah Shebektav, in the 5 books, before Har Sinai were in some way Noahides. And this is why we have a Noahide movement today. Because they don't just teach it as what you label a Gentile living amongst Israel. They call it the 4th holy house of Israel. This is how far it's come, when none of this is mentioned in the Torah. In other words, according to halakha, all you have to understand and believe is the halachic interpretation, that it came from the Sanhedrin to adjudicate Gentiles living in the land. As a matter of fact, we have a halakha that you cannot make formal ger toshav outside of the land. But they ignore this and truck on with other modern rabbis that teach differently, to the point that they've attempted to make a workable religion out of these 7 laws, calling it 7 categories of laws. And mind you, Mishnaic literature does not mention this idea of 7 categories. There's only 7 laws, friends. That's it. Anyone trying to promote 7 categories of laws or introduce a whole complex system of laws is lying to. As a matter of fact, they're going against the halakha, which teaches that a ger toshav, a Noahide, cannot create a religion for themselves based on these 7 laws, that if they really ultimately want more, they should just convert to Judaism. And that's actually how it's taught by the Rambam, that nowadays, because we're in Galut, not just physically but spiritually, that a Gentile's only option if he wants true Torah and true spirituality and a true ethical way of life is to convert to Judaism. Now, the big question is, why is this Noahide movement less than 30 or 40 years old? And I'll tell you why. Because according to Jewish law, conversion took only 1 day. Only 1 day. And I have many videos on this topic that I go source by source, solidifying this fact. However, post-1948, post the establishing of the State of Israel, conversion became politicized. Conversion, that wasn't just entering the Jewish people. Now, it was a political process in the secular world. So conversions began to take years instead of days or hours. So the question was asked, what do we do with all these Gentiles sitting on the fence? What are they? What can they or can they not do? And this gave birth to the Noahide movement. Just call them Noahides. Start writing literature, and eventually it led to what we have today. And I'll tell you, in the future, this movement is going to completely break away from Judaism and is ultimately going to end up persecuting Jews. And friends, if you're hearing me today, I'm here to tell you, if you're a Gentile, anyone coming from any ethically viable religion, think of your family, think of your kids. Who are they going to marry? How are they going to get married? Who are you going to congregate with? What schools are your children going to go to? Friends, if you're serious about God and you're serious about ethics, convert to Judaism. If not, in the vast majority of cases, your kids will go off and will end up adopting other destructive philosophies or theologies, if not become atheists. And if you're not ready to convert, don't pull them out of the church yet. It's your responsibility to give your family structure and to take them from their lower state of holiness to a higher one. And to all the Noahide teachers, start preaching what you practice. Start offering Torah Judaism as a viable alternative to Christianity and Islam. And anyone out there who would like to discuss or debate this topic with me could contact me through my website, torahjudaism.com. And to hear more of my lectures, again, visit torahjudaism.com. Thank you.